This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, I wanted to start the show tonight talking about your worst of the week last week, Mike. And we're going to save that for my worst of the week, but so I posted a reel. If anybody didn't check out last week's show, Big Mike gave worst of the week to Woodland Lanes in Michigan for boasting in their social media about how many 300s and honor scores they have compared to the rest of the bowling centers in Michigan. And it was like a crazy amount more than the rest of the bowling centers in the area. So I posted the reel. And I think after one day that reel was posted, at least just on TikTok, we had like 13,000 views. And Mike was getting hammered. I mean, just absolutely obliterated on TikTok. And then I looked on Facebook.
That's your
and we
take
had about
on it anyway, but go ahead.
What?
That's your take on it anyway, but go ahead.
Well, we had a lot of likes too, but I think you heard a lot of egos. Like Facebook, that reel also had about, and within 24 hours, I think it was like 35,000 views. And I'm like, man, people, when you hurt their ego, these house shot like heroes, and I put it on Twitter, like everybody comes out of the woodwork, right? And I just, every once in a while, I come in and I check on the reel just to see like what's going on. And I decided for my own sanity to stop reading a lot of the comments on the reels. Because it's a lot of toxic and negative like posts pretty much that come in on a lot of that stuff. But man, you set some asses on fire last week, Mike, with that worst of the week. And I think right now it's front runner for worst of the year, honestly. Just because of how many people it really pissed off. And I mean, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And I was even defending you, Mike, since you're not on Facebook or kind of not on Facebook.
No, TikTok, no, ain't on there either. Ain't reading all the crybabies comments. Want you all to know that. If you're one of the crybabies out there commenting, I ain't reading your stupid comments, okay? I read a few that Rob sent me, but that was about it. I don't really care, bro. Call me out when I say something that's not true. All right? That's it.
Well, people were defending the bowling center because it was a, good run center, and
great.
It was
could be great run, could be great people,
clean, all that stuff. And
awesome, love it, great. Didn't say anything bad about the center. Just gave them worst of the week because they're promoting house hackiness, and I'm sorry, I can't get with that. I can't co-sign that or support that in any way. We need to go in the other direction. That's it.
Ooh, it chopped a lot of people's asses last week. So I wanted to start off because we finished the show last week.
Well, I have a great content bit that we gotta employ Fagan in. So I gotta ask him about this when he comes on. I'm gonna try and employ him in creating some content for us revolving around this idea. We'll see if we can get him on board. Oh God! All right, let's get to the report. Go ahead.
Real quick though, the one other thing that what else chops people's asses that we're going to talk about tonight? String pins, and oh my goodness, I can't wait to have a good conversation about string pins because
so you all know, Rob builds in a string pin conversation to each episode now, just because he thinks the algorithm wants to see string pin conversation. So this whole summer, I'm going to warn you all, getting a lot of string pin conversation. It's okay with me this week because we have new bowling center proprietor Mike Fagan coming on, so obviously it's apropos to talk about that. Also because Carolier The church is
No.
going string pins.
They are really the Bolero Cavaliers.
Upstairs of the church is going string. The pair where who do you think you are? Which by the way, Mike Fagan had a front row seat to. Okay, if you're not aware, we're good. Just a reminder. Every time that viral video comes out, I think the same thing.
Look, there he was. I'm sorry, starting.
Oh God, the emotions are coming out already. Oh my God. So upstairs at Cavalier is going string pins too. So
Yeah, well,
I understand. I get it. Like I understand this is the future. I understand this is what proprietors want to do. I'm not adverse to it, but when you take somewhere like the church and you throw string pins in, I don't know, man. That's like
that's tough.
All
right. Well, we have some guests coming on today, so we don't.
Let's get through this quickly.
I want to talk about your league review because
let's get into my hacky league review.
Your house not hackiness.
I can't believe I started this skit on this podcast. It was the dumbest skit I've ever come up with because all it does is give me an opportunity to come on here and call myself out. Nonetheless, house league. I explained what I'm bowling already. Check the last episode or two if you didn't hear. Mainly for fun, but I'm still trying to bowl. I'm still trying to bowl well. I ain't gonna front like I'm not out there trying.
Mike, real quick, look at my smile because I know what's coming.
People know I've been struggling. I've been struggling a bit the first few weeks trying to figure out what I need to do to unlock this house pattern. I come out this week. I shoot 126 game one. Low game of the summer. Low game of the summer so far.
Wait, you bowled 126 on the first one.
126.
Mike, I could bowl like Peggy Bundy and bowl over 126.
I believe it.
I could kick a ball down the lane and bowl better than 126.
Oh my God.
My foot.
Does my bowling deserve worst of the week?
You might win worst of the year.
Hold on, Robert Hamilton. Hold on a minute. You didn't let me finish. I made some changes, games 2 and 3. I think I shot like 240, 250 or 242, like high 240, high 250. And I ended up with 610 for the night with 126 the first game. I know, 240, 250, 610.
So let's talk about, forget the 240 and 250. Let's talk about the 120 game.
Okay, let's do it.
What I'm trying to be serious here. I can't even do this with a straight face. What happened with your 126 that you
splits happened? Honestly, I don't even think I missed a spare that game. Splits happened. I went 5 through the face twice. I left the 2-8-10, I think at least once, maybe twice. And I think I washed out once as well. So yeah, it was a combination. I mean, they were all bad shots. None of them were that good. Every Mama Mia and Papa Pia in the building beat me this week, Robert Hamilton. Okay, game 1. I was out of the handicap brackets early this week. Okay?
Did you enter handicap brackets?
No. There's no brackets in this league. You dope. This is it's like a fun league I'm bowling. Oh my God.
It doesn't sound like you're having too much fun.
I'm not having any fun at all. I'm having zero fun. And I'm gonna be honest, even the games that I bowled good, I think like I tripped out 2-7-9. I almost left the 7-9 twice in one game. And in that same game I almost left a 4-9 that I tripped out. So that could have been like 170 easy as well. So yeah, it ain't great. I'm not gonna lie to you. It ain't great. I'm still not 100% confident going into this week. I'm more confident than I was the last couple weeks, but not very confident. But yeah, just nasty hook, man. There's a lot of hook out there, man. A lot of hook out there. I watch what other people do who are striking a lot. There aren't many of them, but I watch a couple of them, and I can't understand how they're playing, where they're playing. I don't understand what they're doing to the ball to allow them to play where they're playing and have the ball do what it's doing. I don't know. I can't. It's beyond me.
How many more weeks do I give you without kicking you off the show? Because remember last week I told you if you don't get your act together, you can't be representing this podcast and blowing
I
one.
gotta be honest. I think this might be it. I think this week might be it. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't get it together on Tuesday, I might either have to resign my place on this show, or I might have to just walk away from the league and just walk away and take a break and figure out what I need to do to come back and redeem myself in the house league. But at this point, I'm going to be at this point, I might bowl a house league in the winter, because to me they seem to be harder in the house than they are on the sport. So new challenge, it's ironic. My new challenge has now becoming the best house bowler, because that to me is harder than being adept on the sports stuff. So it's a disaster.
Oh, I love it.
Honestly though, I joke. I want to say I'm having a good time bowling. I'm having fun. We're bowling with some new bowlers. We're bowling next to with each other every week, and I'm getting a chance to introduce some new people to the sport, and that's been really cool. And yes, I'm making an absolute mockery of myself in terms of my own bowling, but I am having fun bowling the league. It's been a good time. I like it because it's a nice, relaxed summer league. It's totally for fun. There's very little competitiveness involved in it. And like I said, I'm having a good time with it. So all good.
Cool. All right. Well, I can't wait for next week's league review if we do have a show, which we might not.
I'm glad we might be off for 2 weeks. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping you forget about league review after we come back after 2 weeks off.
When you bowl league Tuesdays?
Jesus, Tuesday, yeah.
You might be getting a text from me Tuesday night.
You can put them up on Twitter. Go ahead. That's fine.
We have some guests coming on.
We do.
We have some guests. Mike Fagan. I saw Mike Fagan at the Hall of Fame dinner. We saw Mike Fagan right at the fair at Fairlawn, and Mike gave me a little bit of inside info.
You talk to Fagan regularly.
Yeah. And he gave me a little bit of inside info that he was buying Strike and Spare in New Mexico. And my first question to Mike was like, New Mexico? Like, don't you live in Texas? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's a little bit of a commute, But he told me all the plans and whatever, and we got into a really good conversation in the car when we were driving from the airport. And I said, well, we'll have you on once you finalize the sale. And the sale got finalized. And I want to talk to Mike now and about being a proprietor, about renaming the bowling center. We talked about that. Mike's Fagan hair lanes we brought up. We had some good lane names, bowling center names that I think we're gonna try to pass to him. And we also are bringing on returning guest, friend of the show, Inside Bowling's Mike Flanagan. So I got Rob and 3 mics right now coming on the show. So
a lot of mics in here tonight.
A lot of mics. So we're gonna bring both Flanagan and Mike Fagan on, and we're just gonna have a huge conversation about Strike and Spares, the future of Strike and Spares. We'll talk to Flanagan about why Flanagan's all of a sudden popping into the show. And let's do it. Let's bring him on. So we got a full panel tonight. Welcome, guys.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
It's crowded with 4 boxes.
It is.
It's good though. We fill out the whole screen. It's nice.
It's not Strike and Spare though. It's 10 pins and more. That's the name of the center.
10 pins and more. I messed that up, huh?
That's all right though. No problem.
Maybe you should name it to Strike and Spares. Why did I think it was Strike and Spares? I don't know. All right, well, I apologize.
That's in St. Louis. That's in St. Louis, Rob.
Yeah.
See, I'm not that far off on bowling center names. What's going on, guys? Okay, so
it's not rare that we can, Flanagan and Fagan get confused. So it's okay. I get it.
It's a lot of mics I'm dealing with. So I guess my first question is I'm going to send over the Fagan. How did this whole start, this process of getting involved with I have a chance to buy a bowling center. What happened? How did it go down? Let's hear from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, for a couple of years, I've been looking at buying my own small business. I think bowling was kind of one side of my search, and then I was also looking at other types of businesses. Home services, like small. I looked at a bakery. I looked at all these different types of businesses, and I started to really come back to bowling. And obviously, it's home for me. It feels like the right thing to do. But, if you do it the right way, it can also be very profitable and lucrative if you do it the right way. So, I mean, I'm looking at it, from a couple different lenses, looking at it from a business standpoint, looking at it from, where can I kind of give back and have impact on the sport. And I ultimately decided to go back into the bowling world, which I'm very glad I did. I'm excited about it. We'll make some announcements tonight on the New Mexico Open and, how we can kind of continue to grow the sport. But, I think I'm glad, even though it's not necessarily in my backyard, I'm still residing in Dallas. The bowling center is in New Mexico, short flight. Been out there, I've been out there a lot the last few months. It's been great. But at the end of the day, I'm excited about the possibilities of what this center and many other centers could potentially look like under the team that I can put together.
So you're now, the sale is done, right? You got everything going on now where you're trying to like figure out exactly like what's the next steps now that the sale's final. Are you looking to like upgrade the bowling center? Are you looking to make improvements? Like what is your first like kind of order of business like as the sale finalized?
Yeah, the bank has been very nice to me to give me some extra funds to go out and make some capital improvements, modernize the bowling center a little bit. So, we're putting in new string pins. We'll get onto that. We're doing scoring. We're doing new point of sale systems. We're doing a new arcade. We're trying to make as many improvements as we can around the location. Some are, aesthetics. Some are more, revenue drivers. But yeah, trying to kind of build up the center. It's a fantastic location. It's a location that is in need of some TLC. So we're trying to make that happen.
Okay, we got to talk about string pins because you said the two magic words.
I opened the Pandora's box.
So I know you have a lot of knowledge about string pins because we talked about it and we talked about the financial benefits of installing string pins into a bowling center. So what is the timeline? Are you looking to like install string pins into 10 pins and more? Or is that on a timeline? Have you looked into like the research on the benefits of installing string pins? And can you give us at least some info for some people out there that are thinking it's like arcade bowling and that the bowling centers won't save money and they're just kind of against it? I just want you to give us your information you have on it and what would make you install that into the bowling center.
Sure. So first, I think looking at the situation that I'm in personally, the center has Japanese A2s from the 1960s. So these machines are 60 years old. They need to be replaced with something. Okay. They are duct taped together in a lot of places. They're Frankenstein machines. They've been taken apart and put together so many different times. Even a skilled A2 mechanic couldn't necessarily walk in there and just fix all the problems because they've been, put together so many times. So that needs to happen. Now, what are my options? My options are either string pins or freefall machines. Okay. I would say, the perceived negativity of bastardizing the sport, making the sport kind of arcade-esque. Some of it, I get it. I get people are scared of that change that may be coming up. But at the end of the day, string pins, the benefits that string pins can bring. Now, string pins have been around for 30 years. Okay. Would I have changed the string pins 30 years ago? No. But the change of string pins in the last few years of them being now sanctioned, the engineering becoming so much more easier and fewer moving parts, those machines are far and away superior to what I have right now. And I would say a lot of freefall machines out there, unless you've got a really, really highly skilled mechanic back there. I think a lot of people who bowl, even myself included, I've never worked on a machine before. Most people aren't going to go in the back and look at what's going on back there. But, you need a very highly skilled person back there to make it happen and make your league is not just going to happen because we turn the lanes on, there's somebody who's got to be back there taking really good care of those machines, doing their proper maintenance, making sure that things are working the right way. These new machines are, I wouldn't say maintenance free, but they are, they're very low maintenance when it comes to things like that. So from that perspective, it's a lot less scary for me as a proprietor to say, like, okay, I have to make a $500,000 investment. Am I going to make it on something that still needs a lot of maintenance? Does it need a lot of TLC in the back, or can I find something that's a little bit more hands off, if you will? So that's one thing. I think I've got a lot of things here. I think that it's a lot safer, right? People aren't climbing underneath them anymore. I mean, people have died under bowling pin machines, right? So the new string machines, you never have to climb underneath them. You can just untangle the strings with a hook. All right. So that's obviously one piece of it that just makes it more beneficial for everything. You're never going to have another off-spout pin. You're never going to have really many ball returns. You're never going to have any dead wood. These are the things that stop leagues. Right now, our center, there's a lot of times where people have to change pairs. People are getting delayed. Their league is taking 3 hours when it should take 2. There's times where people end up finishing on one lane because one lane broke down and there's nowhere to move them. That will never happen again. So, from a user standpoint, from a playability standpoint, from a user experience standpoint, I think that it's all positive. And, I understand people's gripes with change and, bastardizing the sport and things like that. My personal opinion, and I think, to your point, Big Mike, how can they go string pins at a place like Carolier? It's so iconic for the PBA Tour and all the history there. Do I think that string pins are the future for every PBA Tour event out there and every professional bowling tour out there? No, I don't. I still think that you still have to maintain that. But for local bowling centers, that it kind of could mean the difference of these machines are too expensive, we have to shut down, versus we have these new machines that will allow the business to be more viable and people to stay, and the business is to maintain. Yeah, I choose that all day long because I want more lanes out there in the world, and I want to be able to, make the sport more viable for people to build more centers and obviously keep centers open.
What is the cost? And if you could break it down per lane, I guess, or a number of lanes, what is the cost for new free fall versus new string?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that big of a difference on the front end.
Okay.
The manufacturers, they don't like to necessarily give you the exact numbers. They like to kind of bundle it with other things. So I don't know if I have exactly what it would cost, apples to apples, but
okay.
I don't think it's that different. Okay. You're going to pay kind of a similar amount. Let's call it somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000 per lane to install these type of machines. Roughly. Okay. Now,
yeah. So the added cost then for the free fall is mostly coming on the back end of the mechanic, the repairs, the parts, the maintenance, etc.
Yeah. This place specifically was spending over 6 figures on parts and labor every single year. The proprietors that I've spoken to that have these machines, their labor is cut severely because they don't necessarily need that very, very specialized engineer or mechanic in the back. And as far as parts, it's almost zero. You're literally just have a couple extra parts on the, and we're talking about parts that, don't, a pulley, some string, we're not talking about new motors here or anything like that. These machines, they're super efficient. So I'm expecting my energy bill to go down probably 10 to 15% as well. As soon as the machines kind of set the pins, they turn off. It's kind of like, you roll to a red light and your car turns off now. It's the same thing. So it's like, there's a lot of other benefits that keep everything more viable in that location and make it into a more viable business, and also keep people bowling.
I got to go off in a different direction here for a second. I'm sorry. We were having a serious conversation. I'm going to ruin that right now. You're making me sad because you're making me realize, Mike, that we're going to lose another aspect of the bowling community in this change to string pins. We're another piece of nostalgia in the bowling community that we love around here, Rob. I mean, this has been a topic of conversation multiple times around here, but we're going to lose the guy in the back. We're going to lose that personality, that individual who lives in the back of the bowling center. I mean, I'm not going to get deep into it, but we have talked about some of the characters we have encountered who are bowling alley mechanics, and it's just a different breed. It is. It's a different breed. I respect them, but it's a different breed, and I'm sorry to lose that. I am. I'm sad. I'm sad that it's going to be like a teenage kid in the back handling the string pin issues now, as opposed to, the guy who's been back there for the last 12 hours.
So, Mike, I got to ask. Sorry, I'm going to bring this back to a serious conversation because.
Sorry about that.
Well, let me just say one more thing before you move on. I mean, I think if you have that guy in the back who's very, very talented and very good, you may not ever get into a situation where you need new machines, right? So, like, if you have that guy, maybe you can maintain for a long time and not necessarily have to go spend the money. But that's harder to come by. They're a dying breed.
Oh yeah, who's been in that, right? Like, that's such a niche thing to end up in. Not surprising at all that the number of people that are doing that is very small, I'm sure. But go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is a more of a two-part question. Are you concerned as a proprietor that installing string pins into a 24 lanes and 10 pins and more, 24 lane center will lose bowlers? Is there like a formula that you may be running where it's just like, okay, I currently have this many league bowlers. If I install string pins, I might lose this many bowlers, but the cost efficiency of me savings would negate that in a way. And is there the second part is there a timeline of when you're going to install string pins into 10 pins and more? Like, are you planning on doing that in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
I'm really hoping we don't lose any bowlers. Now, are there bowlers who, may be against this? Yes. I see our center as more of a community gathering place. If you are leaving because of that, you're losing your community in a lot of ways. These people are getting together, on a weekly or even 2 times a week or more to get together and enjoy company and, bowl and enjoy it. I mean, yes, we have competitive leagues and, maybe they're there to compete versus they're there to socialize, but I'm hoping to incentivize those folks with bigger leagues. Like right now, the center cannot operate sufficiently a 5-person league because the lanes are constantly breaking down. There's a metric in bowling called frames per stop. We're at about 200 frames per stop, which is super low. That kind of means that there's always something breaking. Okay, we can't really run a 5-man league. It might take 4 hours for it to finish. So getting that 5-person league back in the door, incentivizing them to come, hopefully getting some sponsorship, boosting prize funds in those type of leagues. I'm hoping to actually increase the number of bowlers just because of that. But at the same time, yeah, there might be some people who are adamantly against this. They just want to go and they want to bowl another center. And maybe they'll drive an extra 20, 30 minutes to get there. That's their prerogative at the end of the day. I hope they wouldn't make that decision because based on every ball that I've thrown down the lane on a USBC sanctioned string pin, the playability is right there. It's so similar to what we're bowling on now. If it's more of like you're just adamantly against it because you're just putting a stake in the ground, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to change your mind anyway.
Cool. I like that answer. And the second part of the answer for the 10 pins and more specifically. Yeah.
So I mean, listen, if I could snap my fingers and have them in today, I would. But these things take time. They're taking they've got to come from a manufacturing plant, and I can transition into the New Mexico Open conversation. They're going to start almost certainly they're going to start the install right after the New Mexico Open. So it'll be after in about 2 months from now.
Cool. New Mexico opens. What dates?
I'm glad you asked. I've been
August. I think it's like
double check.
Mid-August. The dead heat.
There it is.
Center, mid-August. August 14th to 17th. Look at
August
that.
14th through 17th. Yeah, New Mexico Open. We're excited about getting this tournament. Keep it going. It's been going on for 20 years. 21st edition this year. Obviously, with the change of ownership, we're taking it on. We're excited to get it going. We've got a lot of signups already, and we're hoping to really make this a marquee event on the amateur, and even some of the pros will be there as well.
Cool. Oh wait, Mike's on mute. I remember my first podcast.
Sorry, my bad. I was going to ask Mike who you haven't come out. Who have you texted said, "Yo, you got to come out first tournament"?
I'm trying to get as many people as possible out. I don't know if I can pay for everybody's flight, but I'm trying to get some guys out from the tour, no doubt. Francois Lavoie has won the event 2 years in a row. He's definitely going to be there. Zach Wilkins is going to be there. So I think we've got a number of tour guys that are coming in. But yeah, I'm still trying to recruit, man. I'm trying to get I know Belmo's not going to be in the country. I think Bill's got some other things going on.
You ain't getting Bill out to New Mexico. Getting Bill out to New Mexico. Yeah. There is no chance of that happening.
We're trying to get as many people as possible out there, but I think that's where Mr. Flanagan comes in.
He's been waiting patiently, Flanagan. What's up, Flanagan? You're awful quiet down there, bro. You're the voice of bowling over here. You got nothing to say. Give us something about string pins. Where do you stand on this, bro?
I'm like Sam Weinberg and A Few Good Men. I have no responsibilities here whatsoever. So real quick, I'm super happy to be working with Fagan again. I mentioned we had a little podcast a little while ago on my network on Inside Bowling. If people want to check that out, we talk a lot about this event. But I threw it all the way back to the old AOL message boards back in the day. And Rob, you were part of that. Mike was on there, and it's just so weird. We're all getting so old now, and now we're working. You guys have a podcast. Mike has a bowling center, and I've had this goofy thing called Inside Bowling since 2010. It's just so weird. This is the new version of AOL, guys. I'm sorry, but it is. It's the 2025 version, and here we are again talking in some way.
It's the new gathering space for bowling nerds on the internet.
So Mike is very busy doing all these things you guys were talking about in his bowling center, and he needed some help running the event, and he reached out to me because we've known each other forever, and Inside Bowling is signed on to be part of the New Mexico Open. We're running it, and when I say we, Dennis Hacker's been associated with Inside Bowling for a very long period of time, and he's the USBC president now. So he's going to be running the event for us. Do you guys hear some noise?
No, it could be me.
No. It's me. I was just making sure you didn't hear it. I have an orthodontics office above me, and the cleaners are there, and they're running the vacuum. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't messing up this broadcast. But
no, you sound good. You got
a high quality mic over there.
Okay, yeah. Good. But anyway, so Dennis Hacker is going to be running the event. I will be streaming the event. Fagan, myself, and Dennis are going to be three guys all kind of working together. Fagan will be in the booth. He'll help Dennis. I'll help Dennis. And we're just looking forward to making this thing as good as possible. Now, in regards to the string pin thing, really quick, I always like to reverse engineer things, okay? Imagine if all of us grew up on string pins and they started coming out with free fall, okay? Imagine what people would be saying about, Jesus Christ, these messengers are ridiculous. We never had these messengers with our string pins. The game is ruined. It's terrible. Think about that, right? Pins falling down, standing back up. Like, free fall is not perfect either. It's like yin versus yang. It doesn't matter, right? Like, It's all about guest experience. If we want more people to bowl, if we want to grow bowling, and you guys talk about this all the time on here, how do we get more people to bowl? Well, you need somebody to come in and have a great experience. And if that lane doesn't break down and they feel like they're having a good time, then great, right? I mean, that's really what it is. And you guys touched on it already. The mechanics are a dying breed. Finding a good mechanic is really difficult. And then a proprietor also, when they do find a good mechanic, maybe you got one, but that person after 40 hours is overtime. So maybe you want your good mechanic to work the entire weekend for an event like the New Mexico Open, and your mechanic's working 80 hours because there's nobody else that can handle if the shit hits the fan, right? So now you're paying time and a half for your only really good person that can fix anything. So I understand where Mike's coming from, and I support the string pin side of things. I think USBC's done a tremendous job ramping up very quickly to be able to sanction the string pin setters. But that's just kind of what I think about it. But I guarantee you, if we'd have been bowling on strings, people would be bitching about free fall worse than strings are from free fall to string, in my opinion.
So here's my question when it comes to on the proprietor's end, right? Will the consumers start seeing like maybe if the proprietors are saving money on like the energy end and the lane maintenance and they're not breaking as much, will like price of games, is that a possibility where that could possibly start going down instead of like increasing? Because I've noticed that like I pay attention to a lot of the comments that are on some of our like reels and threads when it comes to string pins, and people are like crazy about it. It's such a sensitive topic, it seems to people. But I see a lot of comments where like, well, will the consumer start seeing like that savings like of the games maybe decreasing in rate? Can you see that maybe happening, or are we kind of dreaming as consumers and we're going to keep continuing to pay like $4 to $9 a game what Bolero charges people?
Can I take it first, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
I still think it boils down to supply versus demand. If Mike has a 24-lane bowling center and he's got massive demand on the weekends, that's going to dictate his price. If Mike doesn't have anybody wanting to come into his bowling center, he's going to have to run specials to get people in the door.
God, so it has nothing to do essentially supply and demand.
Simple, yeah. I mean, simple economics there. I think that
Economics
is certainly part of it. But at the end of the day, and I told this to Mike earlier, the more lucrative and the more profitable the center becomes because of new technology, whether it's string pins or other technology that comes down the pipe. To me, as a former professional bowler and avid bowler, that allows me to be more generous with the league and tournament player. It allows me to run tournaments like the New Mexico Open. Am I going to go out and, make a fortune that weekend? No, I probably would make the same amount if I just had open play going. But I want to make sure that the event lives on. I want to make sure that people have a venue for these type of events. So I want to give back, if you will. But if the center is barely keeping afloat, then it's really hard for me to justify that. But if I'm making more money because of technological advances that are making the center more profitable, then hell yes, let's have bigger events more often.
Let's talk about the New Mexico Open a little bit. So I've never bowled the New Mexico Open. It's a pretty long drive for me in the summer, dead summer. But what should I expect? Like, how is the squads run? Games? What kind of pattern am I bowling on? Like, what should I expect as a weekend warrior amateur bowler to walk into at the New Mexico Open?
Yeah, so the lane surface is AMF HPL. It's about 10 or 11 years old. So it's got some built-in friction. All right. So even if I were to put down the hardest pattern that I could possibly put down, there's still going to be some friction on the lane. There's still going to be some playability, if you will. I don't want to necessarily make it as hard as I could possibly make it. In the past, this tournament has been known for challenging patterns. Mike Miller, the previous proprietor, Steve Mackey, they've made the patterns challenging. And I want to keep that going. I certainly want to make it challenging. It's not going to necessarily be the US Open. I want the scoring pace to probably be, the leaders to be somewhere in the average of 220, maybe, not something ridiculous, but not ridiculously low, not ridiculously high. I think that is probably going to be where the scoring pace, where I would like to see it. Now, we'll kind of put out what we put out and we'll see what happens. But the event itself used to be a one-time entry. It was an 8-game qualifier, qualify for the week or for the Sunday, and you had one chance at it. A big part of my career was traveling to Europe for the European Bowling Tour. I wanted to make this event more like a European Bowling Tour event where they had re-entries, but they also helped incentivize local players to bowl earlier in the week. For example, we have a Thursday squad now. That first time we've run have a Thursday squad. This tournament was predominantly Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now we have a Thursday squad, which is geared more towards the local bowlers, a little bit lower entry fee, and a guaranteed spots in the finals. So if somebody wants to travel and come in a day early, that's great. They can take advantage of it. But for the most part, that squad is going to be for local bowlers who don't necessarily have to do flight, hotel, things like that. Now the entry fee tends in these European events, and much like I'm doing here, the entry fee tends to increase as the weekend goes on. So if you want to come in last minute, the entry fee is $300. If you want to bowl on Thursday, the entry fee is $200. Your re-entry is going to be $50 less every time you re-enter. Or I shouldn't say every time, but it's going to be $50 less than a first entry would be in that squad.
And how are the finals? Like it says, what is it? What are you taking? I see your head cash ratio. 1 in 4.
Yeah.
1-4 cash ratio.
Yeah. So if we have 100 people show up, we'll get 25 people that cash. We're hoping to get. Historically, in this event, there's been over 130 entries. Okay, and we've got 32 bowlers making the finals. So we are optimistic that we'll be able to cash everybody that makes the finals, and then hopefully some more people that don't make the finals will still get to cash in the event. But 1 in 4 bowlers will cash. We're hoping to pay a last check of somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 to $900 so that people can justify coming in with a flight and hotel, bowling 2 squads, obviously paying for meals and entertainment while they're there, and still getting to that break-even number, or maybe putting a little bit of money in their pocket.
And then it's what does the finals look like once you make the finals?
So historically, we've stuck with the historical format, which is a double elimination bracket, much like the Masters would be. So at 32, instead of a 64-man, it's a 32-man, and it ends up going from, instead of 3 games, it's 2 games, and then in the losers bracket is actually a 1-game eliminator, just because of time constraints and getting people, out the door on a Friday, or on a Sunday, and making sure that they can get their flight that night.
Cool. And everybody is allowed to bowl. There's no restrictions on who can bowl.
No restrictions on who can bowl. No. Yeah, we've opened it up to everybody. Like I said, we do have some heavy hitters that come in for it, but there's also an affinity for local bowlers to really kind of test their skills on the event, because most of the people are bowling on house patterns all year long. They want an opportunity to bowl on something hard against some of the best bowlers. We also have a pro-am on Friday night, which I'm committed to, so I'm going to be bowling in that as well.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Speaking of Mike Bowling, we're going to get into that after.
Oh, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's not good right now. But I'm going to plan on bowling that, so we'll have a good time in it. The last thing I want to say is we just this week brought on Brunswick as the title sponsor of the event. We're excited to have them aboard, and I've got a call tomorrow with Bugsy Kelly. So trying to get some of their staffers to commit to the event, commit to the pro-am, so we can have a nice field of high-profile bowlers as well.
Wait, Mike's on mute
You're on
again.
mute, Mike.
Man,
Oh,
Mike
I'm
is-
on mute. Sorry. One question. It's 10 pins and more. Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, what are the plans for the more?
I mean, honestly, with this place, the sky is kind of the limit. We've got over a half an acre of dirt behind us that we can expand into. We can do a lot of different things with it. You know, for now, the additions are going to be more functional, if you will, for pins, for scoring, for arcade, for point of sale, trying to build out our infrastructure, if you will. But if things are going well in a year or 2 years from now, I'm hoping that we can do a large scale renovation, and even potentially even expand the number of lanes that the bowling center has, or expand into that lot in the back that's currently unoccupied.
I do want to say that it is a breath of fresh air to finally have someone of Mike's, like, not only just bowling prowess, right, but just knowing bowlers, knowing bowling, buy a bowling center and not be Bolero, honestly. Like, and it's really, as a bowler, amazing to finally. I wish guys like you. I wish that could happen all across the country, because I really believe that you guys like running centers, knowing how bowlers think, and would put Bolero out of business. I really believe that if Mike Fagan all of a sudden decided to buy 500 bowling centers and park it across the street from Bolero, I think Bolero will go out of business. I really do believe that, because Bolero doesn't have their ear to the bowling street in a way, right? They don't. They just don't know bowlers. They don't know bowling. They know corporate. They know numbers, and they know how to like make league bowlers make it a bad experience for league bowlers, right? So for me, it's amazing for you to buy the bowling center and be a pretty major bowling center that has a big bowling tournament like this, and for you to like do what you're doing. So I can't wait to see what happens like in the future with the bowling center, and you're able to keep like, the bowlers. You'll be there. You'll be talking to them. You'll be probably bowling league, I would imagine, if you can, or subbing in. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, yeah, like, put Bolero out of business, Mike. I'm with you. I'll buy some stock in the Mike Fagan's hair bowling enterprises.
Sadly, the goal of a lot of other proprietors, I'm sure, and God bless if Mike does this one day, but is probably to build up the center and sell it to Bolero and cash in some way. I mean, it's sad, but I feel like that's more where we're at than what you described before, Rob. Which, I mean, any bowler would prefer what you described, but I feel like we're closer to that reality where Bolero has snatched up so many of these centers that yeah, I mean that I feel like any center. If you told me tomorrow, hey, Bolero bought that center, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, no doubt, yeah, absolutely. Flanagan, what do you have in store for the live streaming for the tournament? Are you what we doing the whole thing?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll get in Wednesday, set everything up. Dennis is getting in Wednesday. Mike, and I will set up all the tournament stuff. We're going to run it on tournamentbowl.com, so it'll all be transparent. Everybody can see what's going on. I'll be running the stream like I normally do. We'll stream every squad. Though I see a lot of people saying it's just great to see Mike Fagan, front and center talking to the bowling community. He's going to have an opportunity to do that during his event, right? So that's going to be really cool. It's going to be nice to be able to sit there and tell, more stories and stuff and talk about his center and what's going on with the tournament. So we're excited about that. Brunswick coming on board is massive. I've had a really good relationship with Brunswick. I've had a great relationship with all the ball companies, but it just seems like most of the events that I stream, for some reason on the screen, I've got a Brunswick brand on there. And for this to strategically align that way, Brunswick has done bowling ball specials, as well as we'll be running t-shirt specials and all that sort of stuff during the event. So we'll definitely be giving Brunswick an activation there. I'm one of the few networks that you can actually activate, because I sell balls, bags, shoes, t-shirts, hoodies, everything. So we hope that the audience will respond in a big way. They did it the holiday doubles. We had a record month in December because of the specials that we ran, and Brunswick really appreciated that. So we'll be doing more of that. This is a long-term deal. This is not just Mike, Dennis, and I hooking up for 1 year. We want this to be a very good relationship for years to come. We want Mike to be able to focus on the bowling center and keep improving and doing the things that he wants to do, and hopefully building on that acreage behind him, and maybe expanding his operation one day to be able to have more centers so that he can achieve the goals that he wants to not only be successful in life, be profitable, but also grow bowling in the ways that you were talking about, Rob. And Inside Bowling being a promotions company and somebody who's been live streaming since 2010 through grassroots marketing and things like that. We just hope that our audience says, you know what? We like Mike Fagan. We like Dennis Acker. We like Mike Flanagan. We're going to put this on our tournament calendar, and we're going to go support these guys. And if we don't bowl well, we're going to have a great time, and we're going to feel good that we went to that event. And if we bowl awesome, we're going to make some money. And they're just going to feel good to be part of the weekend. That's really what we're looking to try to do.
No doubt.
Yeah, I got to put Fagan on. I got to put Fagan on the spot here real quick, though. Thoughts on hosting PBA events at I want to keep calling it Strike and Spare, for goodness sake. for 10 pins and more, is it something that a proprietor wants to do? Is it running charity? Like I've always wanted to know it on a proprietor's kind of point of view, and I know you're a new proprietor, but has there been thoughts about bringing a PBA national? I'm talking a national event, not a regional event, like where there's TV show, where there's maybe a CBS Sports show, or now a CW show. So has there been any thoughts about that, or are we still new in this whole thing where we haven't went down that road yet?
Yeah, I haven't really kind of explored that yet. I've spoken with the PWBA about hosting a regional there. I don't know if we necessarily have enough lanes for a national PBA Tour event. I know in the past they've had centers with 24 potentially. I believe Columbus, Ohio had 24 when we were there, but I'm not against it. I mean, I think I'd want to support the PBA. But I think the main thing that I really want to do is just bring people together. I was having this conversation this last weekend when I was at Nationals. I bowled with a lot of the New York guys and hadn't seen them in 10, 15, some longer than that years. And it's just when we were growing up and we would bowl, we would go to the PBA Tour event, whether it was at Carolier, whether it was at Sayville or Syosset or anywhere in Long Island. The crowds were always just insane. 5, 6 deep in the back, people standing on chairs and tables to be able to see what's going on. And that was the atmosphere that I signed up for as a pro bowler. That's where I wanted to compete, because of that atmosphere, And if I can replicate that atmosphere, it's hard to do it at all anymore, honestly, even with the PBA. Back in the 90s when, my parents used to let me out of school to go watch the tour at Sayville, and I can't, I have to stand on chairs to see anything. Like, that's what I would love to have. But I think you need, we can go into a long philosophical discussion about this, but you need you need all the parts to come together to get that type of crowd into a building. And could we do it at our center? Absolutely. Do I want to hope to do it with the New Mexico Open to some extent? Yeah. Let's get as many spectators there for the finals, in addition to, and live streaming fans as well, into what we're trying to host here, and make it an event that's worth watching.
We were talking about this earlier with Mike about how the PBA needs to create more of an event atmosphere around their shows. So, hey, Fagan, maybe that's something that you think about doing instead of just having a final day. Have a tailgate, have a barbecue, have raffles. I don't know, have the pros that didn't make it there, signing autographs and meet and greets, and make it more of an event so people aren't just going. Mike had a reel that went popular that was talking about how people don't want to just go watch bowling anymore. They want to have an experience. And that's something that maybe Mike would bring in more people. So I think the PBA needs to do it. But hey, you want people to come watch. You want that kind of Carolier Friday night atmosphere that we grew up watching. You know, you have to bring in something that's going to want people to go to make an hour trip and feel like they got their money's worth. Because right now, I don't think just watching bowling is doing it, which we can go down that whole road, you know. So, man, I'm excited, though, for you guys. What a great partnership. We look forward to it. And maybe when I start bowling again, I might pop in and donate for a couple squads. We know Mike ain't leaving Jersey, so you know he ain't bowling. Like he can't.
I ain't coming to New Mexico anytime.
It's all good. No, I mean, so Rob, to your point, I mean, I think a big part of creating that event is the food and beverage. Okay, we just hired our new chef Dylan. He comes from actually fine dining. He's worked in fine dining restaurants before. He's got a fantastic culinary career. We're looking to really turn around the food and beverage operation at the center too. And I do think that is going to play hand in hand with, hey, let's have an amazing event, but man, let's have some really cold beer and let's eat some really good food and make it kind of something that you want to be a part of and, hit on all the senses, if you will.
Yeah, you definitely need a cafeteria woman with a hairnet, though, serving the food. Like, I mean, talking like old school, like Brooklyn lady with her hairnet, and that's just like putting the mashed potatoes on your plate, and it's good, and it's good because this lady brought it to you. We always talk about how like bowling alley food is like so amazing. Like we grew up on some amazing bowling alley food.
Yeah, but today it's different though. Like
it
goes back to what we said before, that you have to give people other reasons to come to your center than just the bowling. Like the bowling might be a part of it, but there's something else that they're going to like about your center that's going to draw them there and keep them there and keep them coming back, right? And yeah, I mean the food, the drink, the machines working the right way, being able to bowl league quicker, the competitive events. I mean, it's going to be different for all people, right? The things are going to
air conditioning. Mike, for the love of God, keep these people in Siberia when they're bowling, like because there's nothing worse than bowling a summer league, especially in New Mexico, Arizona, where the air conditioner is not working well and you're sweating. Your hand is it's the worst experience. Clean bathrooms. Soap in the soap dispenser. These are things Bolero don't do, by the way. I'm naming everything Bolero doesn't do.
I'm gonna wait until we get them out of here to talk about the differences between a center owned by someone like Mike Fagan and a center owned by Bolero. We're not going to get into that now. We'll get into that after.
Okay. Well, we don't want them on the hook for stuff that we say.
Yes, exactly. So here's my last question. So, Mike, obviously you're going to have leagues here starting in September, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And you're gonna put out a house shot, I'm sure. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Finest of China. Okay. So I want to, if we can, we at Sweep the Rack here. We want to employ your help in a bit that I've wanted to do for so long, and now that we know a bowling center proprietor who's a friend of the show, maybe we can pull this off. You just picture this, okay? You go the whole season with the house shot, Finest of China out there. And then on a random night, let's say in February, okay? Random night in February. We pick a random night in February. We line the place with cameras and microphones. We have Flanagan come in and set up everything that we can record people's reactions, etc. And we put the US Open pattern out there, okay, for a whole week of league nights. And we record it all. We get everybody's reactions and comments and everything. We mash it all together. We give it to Jimmy. From the Ring of 10, okay? And we have him put together a bunch of clips of everybody wowing out because we changed the fine china to the hardest of the hard. Are we on board or what?
Oh, that's a hard one, man. I don't know.
he's already a Grizzled Bowling Center owner. Listen to this. He's already a Grizzled Bowling. He wants to make sure that the scores stay high. I can't believe this is what I'm hearing. Oh, Jesus.
I love the concept. To me, it sounds kind of like a,
gotcha.
A boss or something where you're like just messing with the customer to some extent.
Yeah, I feel like it's more like a what would you do? You know, like
Yeah.
the ABC News, what would you do where they would set up this scenario to see how people would react? That's what we're doing. We're setting up this scenario. Flanagan, don't tell me that wouldn't be some great content, bro.
Okay, so couple quick things. Number one, you guys are talking about, are you worried about string pin setters, making people not want to bowl there? This would be worse for people not wanting to bowl there.
Way worse.
However, if you really wanted to pull this off, what you would do is you would have to get a sponsor of some sort to get behind this, okay? And you would do this experiment within your bowling center. And then the next week or at the end of the night, probably at the end of the night, you would then come on and with an air horn or something and go, "Hey, everybody, because you participated in this human experiment tonight, everybody gets an envelope on the way out the door, guaranteed for $50 to $1,000, and none of the scores tonight are going to count towards league play." So you have to.
It sounds like an expensive experiment.
Here's a $100 gift card to a mental therapist. That's what you're giving people on their way out.
Yeah, and then hopefully the YouTube revenue from the whatever you put out would be worth it, right? It'd be like Impractical Bowling, essentially.
Yes, love it.
But one other thing I wanted to say, you guys are talking about Mike being a proprietor here. I wrote down some names here. You do know that Doug Kent is a successful proprietor. And you know that Mike Albee is a successful proprietor. And Steve Cook, Wayne Webb, Dick Weber was a proprietor. Don Carter was a proprietor.
Bo Gergen.
All of these people ran successful businesses. And I don't know, I'm sure there were some, but I don't know of many smart people that know bowling that have got involved in bowling centers that have failed. So, no pressure, Mike.
No pressure.
Be the first.
Did you bring up John Mazza? John Mazza ran a good center in Bay City where we bowled in college. Bo Gergen, we've had him on. We've had Doug Kent on. Love Doug Kent, friend since I was a kid when he was a Dick Ricker coach. But yeah, I mean, smart bowlers make good proprietors. So Fagan, you're a smart bowler. So Faganomics. I mean that term didn't just come out of like the woodwork, right? So it's exciting. It really is, guys. We really appreciate it. We're gonna get you guys out of here. We've been taking up almost about 50 minutes of your time. Anything else from you guys? Anybody you want to thank? Anything you want to just give another New Mexico Open
plugs?
Yeah, sure. NewMexicoOpen.org is where you can sign up, or you can go to 10pinsmore.com, TENPINSMORE.com, and you can sign up online. Right now, we still have plenty of open spots. Right now, I would say everyone should sign up just for their first entry online for now. As entries start to come in, hopefully we can fill up some squads, and then I'll make announcements as to squads that are getting closer to being filled if people want to grab a second entry online before the event. But we're looking forward to having everybody out. We're trying to make it into a fun event, a party, but also, a really competitive bowling event. And I think, when we talk about some of the stories that we've had over the years, just between the four of us, it's not always going to be the biggest first place check where you have the most stories from. You get together at some of these events and you can have a great time with people. And it's about camaraderie. It's about cheering for people. It's about, your friends doing well or yourself doing well. But, that's what I want to kind of make this event. It's more about the community building, and hopefully somebody walks away. Well, somebody will walk away with the $10,000 check.
No doubt.
We know Flanagan's got a lot of plugs.
Flanagan plugs.
Yo, plug our shirts, Flanagan. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Sweep the Rack merch. You got to go get it, everybody. Inside Bowling. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. These guys need to send me their new shirt ideas. I told them one a week. They've been slacking.
Yeah, that's on me because we know Big Mike ain't doing it. So that's on me. Like
this fall is going to be the fall of Sweep the Rack merch.
That's it. The summer of George to the fall of Sweep the Rack.
But you folks already know. InsideBowling.com. Go get all your bowling needs.
Yo, those shirts. Let me tell you, man. I have a lot of those shirts, man. They're comfortable, they fit, they're tight in the arms, they're loose on the waist. You know, so when you bowl, you look jacked, but you're really not. So I feel like we need one of those like 30-second reels where you wear the inside bowling shirts and you, like a girl, like you walk by and then a girl looks at you and you're like, oh man, like that's kind of how they fit. They're great. So I advise it for sure. Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining
guys.
us. Good luck with the event. We'll
Appreciate
be
it, everybody.
following. We'll be keeping in touch.
All right, guys. Take care,
Thanks.
everyone.
All right, Rob. I hope to
See
see you
ya.
there, man.
Yeah,
Later.
right. I'll be there. Man, I would bowl if I could right now, but I am not in bowling shape to drive to New Mexico.
You should just go just to hang out.
You know, it's like a 9-hour drive, Mike. 8-hour drive from
That's
where I am.
easy. That's easy.
In the middle of the summer, dead ass 120 degrees, driving through the dead desert. But you know, I definitely will get out there in the next couple. I would like to get out there after the string pins get installed, to be honest with you, and bowl on that. I think that would be cool.
Let's talk for a second about some of the differences between a bowling center owned and run by Bolero and a bowling center owned and run by a person with real bowling chops. I mean, in my experience, one of the most frustrating things about bowling in a Bolero center is that a lot of the employees are kind of just clueless as to the bowling aspect of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
So-
just, you're basically dealing with like teenagers. You're basically dealing with teenage employees who don't really know some of the ins and outs and finer points of running a bowling center, right? Or even commanding the desk at a bowling center, which let's be honest, like you kind of have to know what's going on to do that, right? Because who's bowling? Are there leagues bowling? Is it open bowling? How many lanes do I have open? What? So there's a lot that you're kind of navigating through when you're running a desk at a bowling center on a given night, right? If there's leagues, if there's open bowling, what time do the leagues end and open bowling starts? How do I want to arrange the lanes so that I keep enough space between the open bowlers and the league bowlers? And the music playing, TV's on down the lane. Should they be on? Should they be off? What time do the league start practice? All these various things, right? And I find that at a Bolero, you kind of get people who are aloof to a lot of these finer points, right?
Yeah. So like
that makes it kind of frustrating. Whereas if you have somebody like Mike in charge of a center, okay, and he's either there on a regular basis or communicating to his managers how he wants the place to be run and how he wants these finer points to be followed and figured out and executed properly, right?
Yeah.
That is going to have a dramatic impact on how the place is run, right?
So-
and that's what bowlers want. I mean, I don't think bowlers are like complicated people to make happy or take care of.
No.
Like there's just a few, maybe I'll say 10 basic things that league bowlers want or need to have a good league experience, right? But if you don't do those 10 things, it can very quickly go south. So yeah, that's part of my point is like bowling center owners like Mike know how to execute those things. Bolero doesn't.
No. So here's my thoughts here is that I compare it. Look, Mike is taking a big risk here. Okay, well, it is a risk of him buying this bowling center. I think at this point it's his probably first business, right? He doesn't have anything else going on other than this bowling alley, right? From my understanding, think about it like almost in a restaurant, right? How many great restaurants, Mike, in your area? And we're big foodies. We love food. I know a lot of people where the best food comes from that one owner of a restaurant who's, I'd say, life savings, right, is into this restaurant, right? They're there. They're trying to make it work. They're in control of every food, everything that gets put out, right? And then you have your Applebee's or your Chili's, which is compared to a Bolero, right? Where you have just people working who are there for their paychecks. The manager is there for their paychecks. They're not really too concerned about the customer experience because, there's 500, Applebee's, and which as a customer, as a consumer, where are you going to get the better experience? You're going to get the better experience most of the time from the like mom pop shop bowling centers, right? And that's the comparison to me of like someone like Mike Fagan, who's knows bowling, knows just everything about the sport, right? Obviously, a great bowler, won a lot of titles on the tour, and also smart business, smart guy, knows how to make customers happy. And then you look at Bolero on the other hand, and Bolero is just like, well, whatever. We just want to make as much money as we can. We want to cut costs as much as we can, and we want to see a bigger bottom dollar. And the customer experience kind of suffers. And I think that's what we see. And I'm not saying all Boleros. I'm saying a lot of Boleros, right? Most of Boleros, at least the experiences I have had. And Robert Hamilton brings up the table situation. And that's just like a small part of it. I complained years ago when I bowled at Bolero Mesa that the bathrooms weren't taken care of. There was no soap in the dispenser half the time. There was no towels. The floors were dirty. There was, toilet paper was getting, it was just all that stuff as a customer. When you're going and you're charging the prices you're charging, you can't get away with that in a lot of times in a lot of businesses, and people don't come back. They write bad reviews. It snowballs. So I talk to Mike really closely. Yeah.
It's also because when you're bowling a league somewhere and you're showing up there once a week for 36 weeks, right? So like the stuff gets annoying real quick, right? Because you're constantly forced basically to go back to this business, right? So when it's not corrected, you just get tired of it really quickly.
Yeah.
It's like, man, how can somebody be running a business and not have this corrected after this amount of time, right? And it's still like this. I want to bring this comment up. AK252M says, to be fair, lots of league bowlers are a bit entitled, and it's not good behavior whether the center sucks or not. And I feel you on that, AK. I worked in a bowling alley for numerous years in college, and I totally understand where you're coming from on that. But I'm also going to look at it from the perspective of this is a customer who's coming into your business 36 weeks in a row and spending money in your business. So, like, at a certain point, don't they have a right to be entitled a little bit? I mean, if they're coming in every single week and patronizing your business every single week in a serious manner, and they're just asking for some simple things that really should be no-brainers to the person running the place. I understand the word entitled. I get it. But I think I just look at it from the other perspective there too.
For sure. All right, Mike, do you want to get into some really quick topics? I know we're probably going to go a little bit of OT. I think we planned OT just because of the guests, whatever. I know there was some bowl news. I think we want to talk real quick PWBA, US Open, because arguably you could say was one of the greatest US Open. I wouldn't call it television, right? But television like performances. Well, it was television. Sorry.
Honestly, regardless of how you want to phrase it, it was one of the best performances, period. I'd say most dominating performances, period.
Yeah. So if anybody didn't catch it or didn't get to see it, and I hope I'm saying this right, but New Hui Fuen, Mike, did I come close to that? Climbed the ladder at the PWBA at the US Open, which was on CBS Sports, right? So I'm corrected. It was televised.
Yep.
But the way she did it was just like lights out. She was in serial killer mode. And she bowled a 290 in the finals to win that match against Jordan Snodgrass.
Most of the games were over by the seventh frame.
Which is...
it was impressive. It was impressive to watch. Like, she had something the other players did not have.
New Wayfin. I'm sorry, Nico knows. I feel like when PWBA action comes on, we should have Nico on as a guest to just kind of do the recap for us.
Rundown, no doubt.
But what a performance by New Way Finn. Man, I can't even just. It was crazy to watch.
Can someone tell me what ball she was throwing? It looked red and black to me. It wasn't something that I was real familiar with, and I was just wondering what ball she was throwing. I never really saw the label. If somebody in the chat has that, I was actually wondering that while I was watching the show. But man, what a dominating performance! Oh, it was a shiny phase 2, really? Wow. Okay. All right. I'm kind of shocked by that.
Yeah, and
she did switch to a different ball at one point. Yeah, you're right, Robert. I recall that. Yeah, I was talking about the blue and red one she was throwing.
And I keep saying it about the Asian players, Mike, on the PWBA. I mean, we saw Sin Lee Jane. I said that Jane Lee Sin last year, right? We see New Way Finn this year. These Asian women are no joke on the PWBA.
Singapore, bro.
They're no joke.
Coming for real.
They're coming for real game, and these women are. I feel like almost a lot of them are behind a lot of these Asian girls on the PWBA tour at this point.
Here's what I'm going to tell you what my biggest takeaway from the U.S. Open was, though. You know, a couple of years ago, I don't know how long ago it was now. Maybe it was 3 years. Maybe it was 4. The time blends together for me. The USBC made a big deal about, the men's majors are 100,000. We're going to make the women's majors 100,000. And I never heard anything announced, but I did notice that the top prize was only 60,000. So I'd like to hear what happened to that initiative to try and keep the $100,000 first prize of at least the couple USBC majors, the U.S. Open and the Queens for the women. So just a thought. That was one of my takeaways from watching the event.
Yeah, she's got to be front runner now for Player of the Year. I think that this was her third title. I believe it was her second major.
No doubt. I mean,
third title, second major, and I believe she's first in points right now.
Super impressive, man. I mean, I struggle to recall an instance where someone ran a ladder and dominated in that fashion. I mean, usually if somebody runs a ladder, there's going to be at least a game or two where they really have to buckle down. They're either down halfway through the game or they got to get up in the 10th and have their opponent do something to help them out, etc. Honestly, I watching this show, I never really felt like she was in question of not winning the match of any one of these matches.
I wish you could have bet. We could have just rode her the hot hand to fight for 4 matches.
Man.
But anyway, so that was the first bit of news we wanted to talk about, and the second came in kind of late. I think actually I heard this news today with Frankie Lavoie's post about the Pan Am Games pulling the sport of bowling. And what I found interesting about this story, and I haven't really got into it, I didn't read a lot of it, and I don't want to get too many facts wrong. But the one thing that stuck out to me was the bowling facility was already built, and it was pulled after the fact that it was built.
Well, I think it was built a while ago.
But it was already built. It was already there. They already had it planned there.
Anything, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like there was. I
mean, is it surprising to anybody? It's not a
surprise. No.
Is it surprising to anybody? Like, people act surprised that bowling is getting the cold shoulder. Like, guys, the game is dying. I've been saying this for quite a few years here, right on this podcast. It is dying a slow death. It needs radical change to redirect things and give this sport a shot at surviving. And if we don't make radical change sooner than later, the sport is going to die. There's no question about it. I mean, it's an assurity.
Well, the one thing it was surprising for me is because the Pan American Games they've actually been going since '91, and bowling's been a part of it for almost over 30 years now.
Right.
So for me, it's like, why all of a sudden, for the 2027 games, they pulled it all of a sudden, right? I know there's a cap in sports, Mike. I believe
because they probably wanted to add breakdancing.
They probably had some priority in other sports, honestly. But bowling's been a part of it for over 30 years. I'm pretty sure I read that it was Peru, I believe, is when the 2027 games were, and I believe that's where it got pulled from. I have to read more into it, and maybe I know once Jeff Wriggles gets a hold of the story, I'm sure he'll have a write up on 11frame.com. So
yeah, he already does. He already puts.
Oh, he does. I didn't get
he put something up about it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get into it too much. I know we had the interview with Fagan, and I was more focused on that interview, even though I got the original bowling center name wrong. But it is what it is. Anyway, Nico wants to know if we're ever going to be president of the USBC. If they offered it to me right now and they gave me Chad Murphy's job with Chad Murphy's salary, I would take that in a heartbeat. So I would have no problems running the USBC. I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing, but I would have a fun time.
Best believe that if either one of us ever gets an opportunity like that, they better bring the other person with them. I'm just going to say that. If I got that opportunity, my first phone call would be to you to come and be my number two and be like, let's go make some changes.
I'll be honest with you, though. We would probably last about a month because we would eliminate all of USBC sanctioning from all house shots across the country. And there would be a lot of membership decline because a lot of people would be quitting. And then we would be back here doing the podcast probably a month later. But we'd have a good story to tell, or we would just I don't
know if I would go that route, honestly. I think
you wouldn't go that route. I think it would be fun to do it just to see. But if they were paying me that salary, I'd probably wall them up too. Shit.
I would definitely go the route of trying to make more distinction between the easy and competitive side of the game, the recreational and the competitive side of the game. And then I think I would try and implement some ideas to try and draw some of the people that have had success on the recreation side of the game over to the sports side of the game and really get them hooked on that. And then I think then you might have something like if we could create a better pipeline in bowling from non-bowler to recreational house bowler to skilled house bowler to sport bowler, the game in general would be much better served.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a better education among all bowlers, recreation bowlers specifically, about the differences of the sport in general. There's too many conversations that I have with friends who are just casual bowlers who maybe bowl once every couple months. They're regulars at the bowling center. They have their own balls. They go bowl, but they do it. And when I tell them about sport patterns and try to explain what a pro pattern is, the difference between what they bowl on recreation, it kind of blows their mind because they never knew that. And some of these guys and my friends have been bowling for years, and they have no idea that even exists. And I think that is an issue. And I think the USBC needs to try to find a better initiative to introduce it to the recreation bowlers. I mean, not force it down the people's throats in a way, right, Mike? But gently introduce it and say, hey, this exists.
Yeah, encourage people to go and take that route. And I mean, listen, we talk about this all the time. We get into hours long discussion, whatever. But think about how long has college bowling been bowling on challenging patterns? right? It's been a while now.
Depends the tournaments. Yeah, there's easy college tournaments, and there were really hard college tournaments. They did a good job
When we
mixing it.
were bowling in the late '90s and early 2000s, you're right. There were easy tournaments and hard tournaments, right? It went like, for instance, the Penn State tournament was usually a tournament where you expected scores to be pretty high. St. Louis, I would say, was another one you expected scores to be really
Indy
high.
was tough.
Yeah, but then if you went to Atlanta for the Brunswick Coca-Cola one, or you went to
Indy,
that was tough.
Right.
Or you went to the one of the Christmas tournaments over in Jersey.
Laurel.
We usually
Laurel was higher.
Yeah.
But Laurel was higher.
Here's
The
my
one in
point,
Philly
though.
was tough. Yeah.
For a long time now, okay, probably I'm even going to push it back a few years from what I think it is, and I'm going to say at least for the last 15 years. Okay, at least since 2010, college bowling has been bowled on almost exclusively tougher patterns, sport patterns. Okay, think about all the bowlers that USBC lost as real competitive bowlers because they bowled in college, had a great experience there, loved it, got a lot of experience bowling on the tougher patterns, etc. And then when they got out of college, they didn't want to go back and bowl on easy house stuff weekly, and that's really the main outlet, right? So I feel like again, like the opportunities are somewhat there. You just have to try and draw people to it. But we'll wrap there. All right, let's get to worst of the week here. I want to wrap it up. Robert Hamilton asking if urethane was ever thought of when we bowled in college. No. In fact, there was such little knowledge out there at that time about patterns and different patterns and how to play patterns and things of this nature. Honestly, I don't even think a lot of us knew how to attack the things that we were bowling on. Like, I remember bowling on a couple patterns that were probably short patterns where I should have been playing the gutter. Everybody should have been playing the gutter, and we were all playing in, thinking, "Oh God, they're hooking. We got to move left and loft it." Really, you should have moved right and played out. And so the knowledge just wasn't there either. I don't think
there was when we were in college, we were forced to make more adjustments with our ball speed and hand positions and our layouts of what we drilled than just to handcuff ourselves with urethane. When you bowled on Cheetah back before the big urethanes came out, you were forced to throw, early, smooth, sometimes even like 1 to 2 inch pin to your like axis, like type bowling balls, and your hand position needed to be a lot of it behind the ball. Your projection needed to be to the gutter. You couldn't miss in, but you didn't have the urethane handcuff to just keep throwing urethane and then wait for it to come to you and then never have to like switch or make hand position and speed adjustments. So that's to me is the biggest like difference between now and back when we bowled, is that urethane is taking that physical adjustments out of the game in a way, because people don't have to learn how to play the gutter, keep your hand position right. You could just like throw your urethane and get away with it in a way, right?
Yeah. You want to hear my 126 game? I just found a picture of it in my phone. You want to hear the breakdown?
No, I'm good.
Strike 8-1, chop the spare, so I did miss a spare. Split 7-2, strike, split 5-4, split 7-2, strike, split 5-4, 8 spares, split 6-2 in the 10th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splits in the game.
Nice. I like it. I like that you circled back on that one.
Did a nice job there.
Cool. I'm going to go first because my worst of the week is quick. I started this show talking about Woodland Lanes and Mike's reel that kind of blew up in a way about everybody commenting and a lot of people getting egos hurt because Mike called out the fact that the Bowling Center in Woodland Lanes marketed in their social media about having all of the most 300 games and honor scores in their season. And I think people got confused on what Mike was, in a sense, saying. Mike wasn't talking bad about the Bowling Center itself, how it was ran, what they do, food they serve, the air conditioning, the cleanliness of all the center. Never said a thing about that. Was just concerned or concerned. The worst of the week was one because they're proud of the fact that they make their lanes super easy. It's pretty much what the basis of it. But our comments on the reels, I mean, there was at one point like there's probably 100, 120. I think at this point is maybe even more on TikTok. We got, Mike got called out for all those actions or the items that I just talked about people defending the bowl and center, people getting tagged, that bowl there, whatever, a lot of egos, a lot of 230 average house shot heroes being hurt. But one comment specifically, I think, summed up the problem that proprietors deal with on a daily basis of making their lanes easy and hard and whatnot. It's from Gail Santisiak. She writes, "Who wouldn't want to bowl at this house with all the high scores? That's why they are packed. Everyone wants to score. Why struggle at a house when you can't score well at?" Like, to me, that sums up like where we're at in the bowling like league world. Like, that sums it up. Like, why bowl somewhere where they're going to struggle when you could just bowl at the center and average 230 and bowl 300s and not have to practice, not have to drill balls, not actually have to like learn like the actual like real side of the sport and stay in your bowling center and just be a house shot hero, Mike.
Okay. Here's mine. It's another comment on the same post you were talking about. It's from Eric SB Espinoza. Okay, congratulations, Eric. You've won Worst of the Week here at Sweep the Rack. Here's his post. It was a response to one of these reels you put out.
Yeah, I know Eric. He bowled in my area and went in California.
Okay, he says, not everyone wants to bowl on a U.S. Open shot. Matter of fact, nobody breaks down patterns correctly to the point you're not even bowling on that pattern anymore after the first game because everyone has to have an effing urethane ball in their hand. Okay, well, I'll get back to this. So what if a center wants to have a house shot for league and allows people to enjoy it? Those bowlers are the ones not competing or the one you talk smack about because they are 176 on patterns. This is bullying. I'm going to keep it real. Rob can bowl. Mike, I don't think is the kind of bowler whose skill set should allow him to even play around with conversation. Don't really understand what you mean there, but okay. Tourneys were on house shots. Most of us couldn't cash in. It's not a flex to say you bowl on patterns so you don't look like a house mouse. Okay, couple things here. Number one, your point about once it breaks down, it's not the actual pattern. It might be one of the dumbest things I've ever read in bowling. Okay? The pattern is what you start bowling on. What the pattern becomes from there is still that pattern, obviously, but it's just a breakdown of that pattern. It's the bowler's job to figure that out, the bowler's challenge to figure that out, okay? His point about me not having the skill set to talk about this, please, son, please, okay? You're way off on that, all right? Third, he says it's not a flex to say you bowl on sport patterns so you don't look like a house mouse. Yes, it is a flex. Yes, it is a flex to bowl on sport patterns these days. Even if you don't bowl that well, it is a flex to say you bowl on sport patterns because there's that many people who are so anti and against them that they won't even come out and give it a shot in a competitive environment. Okay, so Eric Espinoza, you're wrong about three things in your post. You said three things. You're wrong about three things. Okay.
And the one thing I'm going to say is, Big Mike can bowl. Okay. Big Mike can bowl. He's very good. So you need to understand that. Just because he's been struggling on his house shot.
Listen, I'm not, and I'll be the first to say I'm not dedicated to the game. Okay,
I'm not either anymore.
I'm not dedicated to the game to any level anymore. So how I bowl is a result of my lack of practice and dedication to the game.
Yep, me too.
Has nothing to do with my skill set as a bowler or my knowledge as a bowler. Okay.
Right.
So, just be clear
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
It's two different things. Okay.
Yep. All right, you ready to wrap this up? Final thoughts?
Yes,
All right.
please. Final thoughts, Rob?
Just talking a little bit about that Fagan interview. It's just really good to see somebody buy a bowling center that is going to make that bowling center not a Bolero center. Honestly, reiterating it. It's kind of a slow time right now in the bowling, like the professional bowling world. So I don't think we're going to be on next weekend. I'm having a little friends trip to Vegas for a few days.
Might be a 2-week break because July
4th.
After that,
so I'll keep everybody posted on social media. I will be trying to keep posting some reels so we can continue having conversations about a lot of this. You guys can keep bashing us on the reels, which
People
is
can keep getting mad at me, calling me a bully.
Call you mad, call me no idea what I'm doing or saying or whatever. But
I'm a bully who stinks.
Yeah, enemy of fun. I mean, so that's my
enemy of fun. I actually like that title. I'll take that.
That should be a shirt. We can make that the enemy of fun.
Call me the enemy of fun. That's fine. You call
we
me
should
the
just
enemy of fun.
have a shirt that says enemy of fun. That would be a good one. Cool.
My final thought is going to be Junior Gold coming up. Gold coming up. Okay.
So we'll wrap it up.
Junior Gold coming up. All right.
We all know what that means. We know the next time we're on air, we're getting a big mic rant about Junior Gold. I'm excited. It's the first thing that, by the way, when we originally said we were going to start this show, it was the first thing that I wanted to talk about because I knew Big Mike was been saving up that Junior Gold rant for years before we started this podcast.
Are there record-setting numbers this year? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Most ever.
Most entries. More qualifiers than ever. Congratulations to the qualifiers.
25,000 kids.
You have earned this.
Where is it?
Accomplishment.
Where is it?
I want to say Detroit. I think.
Again. All right. Well, let's.
Oh wait, maybe that was last year. I might be wrong about that. Anybody? Cool. Where's Junior Gold? Where's the circus taking place this year? Where's it at?
I'll tell you right now.
Okay. Where are people traveling from near and far from?
But anyway, all right. Well, it was good to have them on
Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh God. Could you imagine your kid being involved in bowling and the place you get to go for your summer participation / vacation is Green Bay, Wisconsin? I mean, come on. Come on.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Mike, give them the rundown where they could find us. You do
follow us on social media. We do most of our discussing on X. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. I'm at 215. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Rob wants you to like and subscribe on our YouTube. It's very important to Rob.
It's important.
You're going to make Rob unhappy if you don't like and subscribe. All right. I know everybody hates me. Everybody likes Rob. Nobody wants to see Rob. No one wants to see Rob sad or upset. No. So like our YouTube and subscribe. Okay. Go to InsideBowling.com. Okay. Go to InsideBowling.com. Content creators, sweep the rack, get your merch. I'm gonna try. I thought I sent Flanagan the worst of the year shirt. The pain, misery, and depression shirt. I want that up there. He probably doesn't want to put it up there because it has language in it or whatever. I don't care. I want it up there.
You have his email? You know where to send it?
I sent it already. I'm pretty sure I sent it. That's the one.
Send it again.
I typed out the whole thing. I want the whole paragraph on a shirt.
Okay.
I want the whole thing. I need that whole paragraph on a shirt. Pain, misery, depression. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Listen, we probably won't be back for 2 weeks. Don't worry. There's not a lot going on in the bowling world. Enjoy your other podcasts that you listen to. We'll be back eventually. We'll hit you up when we are. Everybody take it easy.
There you guys.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob